ever feel like you're starting from scratch? Like not just a setback, but total ground zero.
Yeah, I could see that.
Well, that's what we're diving into today. Rebuilding after, well, some tough stuff. Addiction, trauma, the whole deal.
Heavy stuff.
Yeah. But fascinating too, right? We've got excerpts from this book, How to Start from Scratch, some personal stories, even some psych research you dug up.
Trying to get a rounded view of things.
Exactly. So like, what really works to start over and how do we make that useful, for everyone listening?
Big question, right? Like, can you actually rebuild from nothing? And how?
And the book jumps right into that. It's not just like vague advice. They use these archetypes, different paths to recovery.
I thought those were interesting. More than just labels, they offer a framework to understand the different ways people, experience this whole rebuilding thing. Like the reformed professional. Given, well, your career, that might resonate. They focus on regaining competence, purpose, through work, rebuilding their career as part of, well, recovering overall.
It's like getting your life together, but it's not one size fits all.
Right, exactly. It's your stability, purpose, fulfillment, what those look like to you.
And the book really hits on that. I remember this line, something like, success isn't a finish line, it's the direction you're heading.
Yeah, it's about making a life that feels, well, meaningful on your own terms. It's personal.
Okay, so let's break it down. Stability, purpose, relationships, self-fulfillment, all of that. Stability seems like the foundation,
Right.
the base for everything else.
Absolutely. Basic needs met, safe place to live, health, mental and physical, and income, right? Reliable income. Without that, it's shaky ground.
The book talks about shelters, food banks, the obvious stuff, but it also says use your skills. Even if it's just for now, to get some income flowing.
Resourcefulness is key.
Yeah.
You've got give skills, experiences, even if they don't seem, immediately useful. And hey, you've overcome a lot already. That resilience alone, that's an asset.
Now, purpose, why that drives us. The book had some inspiring stories, people finding purpose in the weirdest places. Did any of those jump out at you?
It was interesting how it doesn't have to be this huge ambition, save the world kind of thing. It can be small, reconnecting with a hobby, learning something new, even just contributing to your community a little bit. It's that sense of, well, direction, something to aim for.
And those little steps can build up, like the small wins the book talks about.
Totally. And speaking of small wins, this leads to relationships, fixing the ones that are damaged, building healthy new ones.
How does that fit into starting from scratch?
Well, when you're rebuilding, support is everything. A network gives you belonging, accountability, people to cheer you on. The book talks about boundaries, rebuilding trust, the whole works.
So it's not about isolating yourself like, I gotta do this alone.
Nope, not at all. They make it clear, asking for help. That's strong, not weak. Admitting you don't have to go it alone, that takes guts.
Okay, last one. Self-fulfillment. Being content, okay with where you are on this, messy journey, seems a bit contradictory. Content when you're starting from nothing.
It's not about some perfect happiness, right? It's about living by your values, accepting yourself, and feeling, good about your progress, even tiny progress.
They suggest stuff like mindfulness, gratitude. Can that really make a difference when someone's facing, this mountain of problems?
Totally. Mindfulness is just, being present, no judgment. And when you're overwhelmed, thinking about the past or, freaking out about the future, it helps to just be.
Yeah.
And gratitude. Focus on what you do have, even small stuff. Shifts you from scarcity to, abundance.
Sounds great in theory, but I can imagine being at that ground zero point and it's just, overwhelming. Where do you even begin?
The book's got some surprisingly practical advice for that. First, acceptance. Just acknowledge where you are. No judgment. It's not dwelling on the past. It's owning the NOW. What you can control, right?
This seems like that research you brought in about mindset shifts, right? Scarcity to growth.
Exactly. It's recognizing your situation isn't forever. Instead of what you lack, what you've lost, you focus on potential, what you can achieve. It's subtle, but man, it's powerful.
And letting go of the past, that's huge, especially with trauma. But how do you actually do that?
It's a process, they admit that. It's not forgetting, it's, working through the pain, finding ways to let go of its grip on you. They suggest journaling, meditation, even writing letters you never send. Just to get closure.
So we've faced reality, we're shifting our mindset, but practically, what's next? How do we starting?
They call it bootstrapping. Use whatever you've got to get some momentum going. Shelters, food banks, we talked about that. but also your skills, even for small jobs, anything.
I like the part about routine. Not only does it like reduce the overwhelm, but it gives you those small wins.
Right. Simple stuff, wake up at the same time, set hours for job searching, structure in the chaos.
And then tying that to micro goals, celebrating those little victories. That's where it gets real, not just concepts, but actions.
For example, say your goal is a stable job. Break it down, update the resume, research jobs, apply to one. Each step is a win. You celebrate it, builds that momentum, and reinforces the growth mindset.
It's all coming together from scarcity to growth, victim to empowered,
Yeah.
taking those internal shifts and making them like real actions.
That's it. Our inner world, our actions, they're connected. The book's got these amazing examples of people who did this, and the changes were huge. But we got to talk about the internal roadblocks, too, the stuff that holds us back even when we're trying.
You mean those fallacies of belief? The book called them myths, right? Things we believe that can like sabotage us.
Exactly. They're sneaky because they sound true. Makes them hard to spot.
They give some good examples, like instant success, thinking recovery is a straight line, immediate results. But as we've seen, it's messy. Setbacks happen.
Yeah, it's about progress, not being perfect.
Which ties into doing it alone, right? That you got to be totally independent, reject help. But recovery needs other people, mentors, support, accountability.
The book's big on that. Knowing when to get help, that's strength.
And then there's the myth of perfection, like everything has to be flawless or it's a failure.
Oh, that'll paralyze you for sure.
Like they say, perfect is the enemy of good. You're so busy trying to be perfect, you get nothing done.
Right. Recovery, life, it's about effort, not flawlessness.
Mm.
Be kind to yourself. Allow for mistakes. Learn from them. It's the journey, not just the destination.
The book had so many inspiring stories of people overcoming those myths, seeing them challenge those beliefs and, actually change their lives. It's encouraging.
It really is. It shows how important critical thinking is. Questioning those beliefs, they give some tools for that, like noticing your thought patterns, asking yourself tough questions. Is this belief helping me or holding me back?
And having a reality check system. People you trust will be honest with you because sometimes you need that outside view to see things clearly.
Oh, for sure. Surround yourself with people who want you to grow, who'll challenge you to be your best.
So far, we've talked a lot about the mental, emotional stuff, but the book doesn't ignore the physical side either.
Right, they're all connected. Nurturing one helps the other.
This is where your research on trauma and the brain really hits hard.
It's like trauma rewires your stress response. Anxiety, always on edge, even physical symptoms. It's not just in your head, it's your whole being.
And they recommend therapies for that, CBT, EMDR, things that are proven to help with trauma. CBT helps change negative thoughts, and EMDR uses eye movements to, process those traumatic memories and reframe them. But they also talk about mindfulness, other stuff to, calm that stress response down and help you feel better emotionally.
And physically, it's admitting that substance abuse, stress, it all takes a toll. Like your body's running on overdrive all the time. It wears you down. Good nutrition, exercise, medical care, they all matter. Give your body what it needs to heal. And that ties into letting go of the past, not just in your mind, but in your body too. There's this great quote from the book, forgiveness is the fragrance the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. It's about letting go of that pain so you can heal, inside and out.
Wow, that's a powerful image. Really captures what we're talking about, right? Letting go, starting fresh.
Exactly. Choosing to move forward, even if it's just a little bit at a time. And speaking of moving forward, I think we're ready to talk about the next stage, right? Achieving and sustaining success.
It does feel like we've come a long way, facing that ground zero, rebuilding stability, purpose, all that, understanding the things that hold us back. Quite the deep dive.
It has been, but this is just the start. Starting over, it's ongoing.
Yeah.
Growth, learning, adapting. And next time, we'll talk about how to build on this and make a life that, that really reflects what you want. So we've got the foundation, right? Those core elements, facing the myths, the fallacies. But how do you make it a secret? Rebuilding, that's one thing, but thriving.
That's the goal, right?
Right.
And the book's got some ideas. Starts with this premise, like success isn't this fixed thing. It's always changing.
Right. What felt like success, like a year ago, I'd be totally different now. And what feels good today, it'll probably evolve too as you grow. The book's big on this, checking in with yourself, asking, what does success look like for me right now? And how might that change?
It's a moving target, huh? Speaking of aiming, they talk about goal setting, but specifically SMART goals.
Yeah, got to be smart about it. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It's a way to set goals you can actually reach, not
Yeah.
just I want to be happy kind of stuff.
Which goes back to those micro goals, those little wins, breaking it down, celebrating each step.
Momentum. It gives you that feeling of, hey, I'm actually doing this, especially
Hmm.
when you're starting from, well, nothing. But goals aren't everything. Remember those support networks. Super important for the long haul.
Yeah, people who cheer you on, keep you accountable, celebrate with you, it makes a difference.
Huge difference. People who believe in you, challenge you, remind you of your strengths when forget. Shared experience, understanding, that sense of belonging. It's powerful stuff.
And speaking of challenges, the book talks about resilience. Life throws curveballs, right?
Hmm.
How do you get that inner strength to deal with it?
They had this analogy, I liked it. Resilience is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So, facing those challenges, learning from them, you actually get better at handling it.
Exactly. Develop coping mechanisms, practice mindfulness, learn to see setbacks as well as opportunities. Challenges are going to happen, but they don't have to, control you.
That's a good message, especially after everything we've been talking about. Addiction, trauma. It's like taking back your power, choosing how you react.
Taking back control. And that brings us to burnout. It's easy to get caught up in the rebuilding and forget to take care of yourself.
Especially with that early motivation, right? You want to catch up, prove something, achieve, achieve, achieve. But it's not a sprint. It's more like,
A marathon, they say. Set boundaries, prioritize self-care, recharge, taking care of yourself, body and mind. It's not selfish. It's essential if you want to keep going.
man, this is a lot to take in. Feels like we've only just dipped our toes in the whole starting over thing.
It's a deep dive, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But you're right, there's tons more to explore. But before we go on, anything standing out to you, anything you're like, this is for me?
The whole thing about hope and agency, it really hit home. Believing change is possible and that you have the power to make it happen.
Powerful combo, right?
Yeah.
You're not defined by your past. You can choose a different path, one that fits your values, your dreams.
It's like taking back your story, writing a new ending. And speaking of stories, one thing the book didn't explicitly say, but I noticed it a lot, it's like turning struggle into service.
You mean how a lot of the people in the book, they found strength in helping others?
Yeah. Mentoring people going through similar stuff, advocating for change, or just sharing their story to give others hope. Giving back seemed to, fuel their own healing.
The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Taking your own pain and making something good out of it, that's powerful.
And that connects to the history you brought in, right? The whole recovery movement. It started with people helping each other.
Totally. Like AA, Alcoholics Anonymous,
Mhm.
people sharing their stories, supporting each other, keeping each other accountable. That model's had such an impact. So many other groups and programs came from that. It's that basic human need connection. We're not meant to go through tough times alone. And when you're recovering, that shared understanding, that community, it makes a difference.
And the historical stuff shows how far we've come in understanding addiction and trauma. For so long, it was like a moral failing, something shameful. But that stigma is changing, slowly but surely.
Definitely. We're seeing more focus on the science, understanding that addiction and trauma are, well, they're health issues. They need compassion, support, not judgment. Recovery is about more than just symptoms. It's the underlying causes, what each person needs.
And that's led to new approaches, right? Trauma-informed care, mindfulness-based therapy, they're becoming more common. It's good to see that shift towards a more, a kinder way of helping people recover.
It is. And it shows recovery isn't one size fits all. What works for one person might not for another. It's finding what you need, the right resources, the right support.
So if we had to boil it all down, one key takeaway from all this.
No matter how far you've fallen, how hopeless it seems, recovery as possible. It's a journey, not a destination. There'll be rough patches. But you've got the strength to rebuild, and there are people out there ready to help.
That's really well said. Hope, resilience, empowerment. As we wrap up, a question to think about. What gifts, what strength have come from your challenges?
That's a deep one. Even in hardship, there's growth, change, finding that inner strength. Those experiences, even the painful ones, they've shaped you, given you unique insights. You can use those to make a difference.
How can you take those gifts and, use them for good, even in small ways?
Sharing your story, mentoring someone, volunteering, even just listening to someone who's struggling. Turn pain into purpose. Spread that healing, that hope.
That's a good thought to end on. Even in the dark times, there's always light, there's hope. You can create something meaningful for yourself and for others. It's kind of amazing, right? How much good can come from, well, going through hell. Like those kintsugi bowls, where they fix broken pottery with gold. The cracks become part of what makes it beautiful.
Perfect metaphor. It's not about erasing the past. It's embracing it.
Yeah.
Those scars, the cracks, they made you who you are. Strong, unique.
And seeing those strengths, that's got to be key, right? Not just surviving the bad stuff, but using what you learned, the good that came out of it.
Exactly. Like post-traumatic growth. Some of the research you had mentioned that. People who went through trauma, some of them actually, well, they end up better off in some ways. More resilient, deeper relationships, appreciating life more.
That's wild. Even with all that awful stuff, there's this potential to grow, to change for the better. We might not even see it at first. It's like, some seeds need fire to sprout, right? Sometimes it takes that heat to bring out the best in us.
Wow, that's a good one. And that resilience, that ability to grow through the tough times, that's what makes success last. Knowing that, yeah, there'll be setbacks, but they don't have to be the end of the story.
It's learning to handle those bumps, adapt, and come out, even stronger. But it's not all on you, right? There's that collective resilience too, the strength you get from other people.
Absolutely. Back to those support networks again. They're like a safety net. They cheer you on and remind you that, hey, you're not alone in this.
So as we wrap this up, any last thoughts, any advice, wisdom to leave people with? Something to hold on to as they, start over?
The big thing is you're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. You've been through a lot, learned hard lessons, and you're stronger than you think. Maybe you don't even realize it yet.
It's like your past doesn't define you, but it's part of who you are.
Yeah. And that's a solid place to start from. So keep learning, keep exploring, and trust yourself. You can build a life that's meaningful, that makes you happy.
That's a great note to end on. And remember, everyone, recovery's a journey, not a destination. There'll be good days, bad days, unexpected detours. But every step you take, you're getting closer to that life you want. So keep going, keep growing, and don't ever give up on yourself. And that's our deep dive for today. We covered a lot, thought about some pretty big ideas, and hopefully gave you some hope, some inspiration. Until next time, keep digging deeper, keep learning, and keep building that amazing life.